Okay, so let's go to the skin editor now, and let's use this multi-level drop-down menu. And before we do that, I want to give you a little preview of it. Right, this is the menu here. And what this menu does is it creates this drop down with this little arrow that allows you to, well, it does something special in mobile devices. We come over here to the Responsinator. Here's what it does. It collapses that menu down into this bar, and when you click on the menu button, now you get a drop-down menu. And it can be a multi-level drop-down menu. Now, if you go to, say we just go to a page where I don't actually have that menu installed, here's what our menu looks like. And when you land on something that drops down, you know, it doesn't necessarily work very well. Now it seems to be working okay here, but that just happens to be how the menu just by happenstance works okay like this. Generally speaking, it doesn't actually work okay. Or if you're not lucky, it doesn't work okay. And so really this other little responsive menu is really the cool menu. It doesn't take up any space until you need it. And you can expand the drop downs and without interfering with anything else. So this is the menu that we're going to install. And we did install that, right? We created the box. Now what we're going to do is swap out the menu. And so I'm going to come down here to add boxes. And I'm going to call this responsive menu. And add the box. And then I'm going to shift drag it all the way up to the top menu area. And then I'm going to shift drag my top menu out and drop it. And then we're going to look at our choices here. When we open up the responsive menu, what we have here is a choice of either a div or nav for our HTML tag. I'm going to choose nav. If you have multiple menus that you want to style separately, you can give them a class. But I'm only going to use this menu on the top, so I don't need to give it a class. It will automatically assign the right class to it if I don't put something in here. And then I can pick which menu I want to display. I'm going to display the main menu. Okay, so if we save this template like this, you're going to see that it breaks the site a bit because our package hasn't been added to the skin yet. So now we have to do is come over to our CSS and add that package. And again, we have this choice of BYOB multi-level drop-down responsive menu styles. We'll add that package. And the name here is, we'll just call it responsive menu. And the reference will be responsive menu. And if you wanted it to a different style, right, you can have as many of these styles as you want and as many responsive menus as you want. They just need to have, if they're going to have different styles, they need to have different selectors. And so this is the automatic selector, but you could change it to the one that you created otherwise, and that will work as well. And if we just hit save here for the moment, and then add it to our skin, let's see, where's my menu? Responsive menu. Let's see what it looks like now. Now it's taking some automatic styling, right? If you don't set any options at all, I wanted to create an automatic style that nevertheless worked right out of the box. And so that's kind of what happens here. Actually, what I really wanted was something that looked fine inside of Thesis Classic right out of the box. But obviously it's got problems until we add some styles to it. But anyway, so let's see, let's save that CSS. Well, actually, now let's just go set some options. Now, the options are very similar to the regular menu options. That is, you know, you can set fonts, you can set links, you can set padding and margin, and there are a few extra things. Like, for example, our toggle menu. A toggle menu is the menu that clicks open and closed on the responsive thing. So you can set its color and its font color. You can also set font settings and things like that. In order to do that well, really, we have to come back over here and look at our top menu. We look at our top menu options. We have our font is Arial, 16 pixels. We did it all uppercase with 1 pixel letter spacing. So let's do that first. So font settings will be Arial, 16. Text transform uppercase, letter spacing 1. Then we can come back over to our top menu and get our colors. So for our links, we have a text color of FFF, no text decoration, but a background color of BC1. And our hovered links are BC2. So let's do that. Well, the top menu, the background color will be white, FFF. Oh no, I'm sorry, BC1. And color will be white, FFF. And then the link settings, links text color will be FFF. Default will be none. Background color will be BC1. Hovered links is still FFF. Text decoration is still none. Background color is now BC2. We can save that, see what it looks like. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now. You know, getting closer to what that menu is supposed to look like. Then we open that up, come over, and link settings. I think current links we left alone, and current parent links we left alone. So we'll do the same thing. So we don't have any more link settings. Menu item padding. We said 10, 20, 10, and 20. And the submenu width was 222. So if we come over to our responsive menu and padding, we can say 10, 20, 10, 20. And then the submenu width was 222. Hit save. And now we have a nice wider drop down here. And then we have a couple of other things that we can choose to style. We can use this overall menu margin to move the menu in position. Right? So if this is not exactly where we wanted it, we could add some top margin or bottom margin to move the menu around in order to get it exactly where we wanted it. The separating border color shows up in this drop down section right here. When you drop down, that little line right there is a separating border color. And while it's not particularly critical on this, it actually is quite important over here, right? When you click on that, to have those little lines, I think, is quite useful. So you can set a color for that. If you don't set a color, it's just going to be black. Sometimes your menu items are going to be more than one line tall for any number of reasons. You might force it to be more than one line tall, or you may just choose to, or they may just be too long and that jumps down to a second line. And when that happens, what would normally happen is that the two-line menu would be taller in height than the one-line menu piece. So this gives you the opportunity to set an absolute height for the top menu item so that if there are two lines, the one-line ones will be as tall as the two lines, so it looks right. Submenu width is fairly self-explanatory. Submenu color exists because you could choose to make essentially the background colors of your menu entirely transparent, which often works just fine for the main menu, but doesn't work well at all for a drop-down menu because the drop-down menu often is covering something that's below it. And so you need to have some kind of background color for that submenu. So you can also just change the submenu color here if you chose, right? It doesn't have to be the same color as the rest of the menu if that's the way you want it. Or if the rest of your menu is transparent, then you can give the submenu a color. And then the final choice is the drop-down arrow color. On a light menu, this arrow doesn't look very good. The light arrow that I'm using doesn't look very good. So if you check this, you'll end up with a dark arrow. And so that's what the dark arrow looks like, right? And so it just depends on your color scheme, whether or not you want a light arrow or a dark arrow. But you can make that choice simply by clicking that button. And we're going to leave it as a light arrow. Hit save. Save CSS. Now, one thing to note, of course, is that this only exists right now on our front page. So we need to go to our other templates and add this to our other templates as well. And that means, well, if we want to get rid of this style of menu entirely, we could shift drag it down to the delete box and then shift drag the responsive menu up and hit save the template. Now that only adds the responsive menu to this template, but it's going to remove the other menu from every template because I deleted it. See, that's now empty. So just shift drag the responsive menu up. Save that template. Grab our page. Save it, do it in the archive, and then the custom template, and then we'll be good. Okay, so now we should have I didn't save my, oh yes I did, pardon me. Now we should have this thing working just right. We do. We've got it everywhere. Yep, it's everywhere. Okay, so now our menu is working properly.